Welcome to The Explainer. So, we all know the AI revolution is here, right? But what's the real price we're paying for it? Today, we're going to look past all the cool code and algorithms. We're digging into the massive physical world behind AI, the power plants, the data centers, the money, and we're going to uncover the incredible strain it's putting on, well, pretty much everything. This quote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It perfectly sums up the anxiety in the market right now. If you're an investor, you're stuck. It's a total catch-22. Do you sit it out and maybe miss the biggest gains of a generation? Or do you jump in headfirst and risk buying right at the top of a massive frenzy? This really sets the stage for what we're talking about today, a story of an unbelievable boom and a potential spectacular bust. Okay, so first things first, let's follow the money, because the AI boom has unleashed an absolute explosion of investment, and it is completely reshaping the financial world as we speak. So just how big is this wave of cash? Well, get this. Projections for 2025 show that AI startups are on track to grab more than half of all venture capital funding. Just think about that for a second. Over 50%. We've never seen that much money pour into a single sector like this. It shows you just how completely AI is dominating the entire startup world right now. And hey, it's not just the big shot VCs. We're talking about everyday investors, people like you and me. They're projected to pour a mind-boggling $700 billion into the market just this year. That is a ton of cash, and it's basically like pouring gasoline on an already raging fire, sending those company valuations straight through the roof. So what happens when all that money floods in? Well, it pushes a handful of tech giants, the Magnificent Seven, to absolutely historic levels. I mean, these few companies now make up a bigger slice of the stock market than we've ever seen before. And this creates this really powerful feedback loop, right? The hype around AI drives up the stock prices, and then those crazy high stock prices make the AI hype seem even more legit. It just feeds on itself. Okay, so we've talked about the money, this digital gold rush. But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's pull back the curtain and see the physical machinery that makes it all happen. Because the real engine of this AI revolution, it isn't code. It's built out of concrete, steel, and a truly staggering amount of electricity. So, you might think an AI data center is just a bigger, beefier version of a regular one. But nope, it's a completely different beast. Seriously, the key thing to understand is power density. We're talking 10 times higher, sometimes even more. You cram all these incredibly powerful GPUs together, and they generate so much heat that normal air conditioning just can't handle it. It's not even close. They need specialized liquid cooling pumped directly onto the chips just to stop them from, literally melting down. And this is where we get to the first huge hidden cost of AI. It's absolutely staggering thirst for power. And I'm not talking about a small bump in the electric bill. This is a game-changing shift in how much energy the world needs. Let's break down where all that power is going. Inside one of these specialized AI centers, the GPUs themselves, the brains of the operation, suck up almost 2/3 of all the electricity. 2/3. Then the cooling systems, which are working like crazy to stop everything from overheating, eat up another huge 25% chunk. It's like they're locked in this energy-guzzling arms race. The more powerful the chips get, the more power you need to cool them. So it's really interesting to see how AI uses power because it's not all the same. There are basically two modes. First, you have training. That's when you're teaching a giant model like GPT-4. And that is an absolute energy marathon. We're talking a massive, sustained power draw 24/7 for days or even weeks on end. Then you have inference. That's when you or I ask the AI a question. And that's more like a series of quick, powerful sprints of energy. Okay, so let's try to wrap our heads around that marathon. Just to train the GPT-3 model, and this was a few years ago, mind you, it took an estimated 1.29 gigawatt hours of electricity. That's enough juice to power over 100 American homes for an entire year. And believe me, that was just the warm-up act. Right, so fast forward just a few years, and the power demands just exploded. To train the next model, GPT-4, it took over 50 gigawatt hours. Let me say that again, from about 1 to over 50. That is a nearly 40 times increase in the energy needed in just a single generation of AI models. It's unbelievable. And what about those sprints? Just asking a single question? Well, that energy cost is ballooning too. A single complex query to a modern AI can use up over 30 watt-hours of power. Now, compare that to a simple Google search. The AI query uses over 100 times more energy. 100 times for just one answer. So all this massive energy demand, what's the big deal? It's not just a line item on some tech company's expense report. No, this is creating very real stress on our already fragile power grids. And at the same time, it's starting to cause some serious jitters in the financial markets. Now, this is really the crucial point. These data centers are becoming so enormous that they themselves can threaten the stability of the entire power grid. This quote here is from ERCOT, the folks who run the grid in Texas. And what they're saying is, if there's a small hiccup in the power lines, these giant data centers are designed to instantly disconnect to protect their servers. But imagine a huge vacuum cleaner suddenly shutting off. That sudden drop in power demand can throw the whole system out of whack and trigger a chain reaction of blackouts for everybody else. At the exact same time, over in the financial world, it's starting to feel like major déjà vu. The parallels to the dot-com bubble back in 2000 are they're becoming impossible to ignore. You've got the same kind of this will change the world story, but this time, there's way more money from regular investors flooding in, and the market is even more concentrated in just a few giant companies. Now sure, people say the technology is more real this time, and maybe it is, but the financial patterns, they look eerily familiar. So, with all these huge challenges laid out on the power grid, in the markets, the big question becomes, can we actually tame this thing? Can we manage this incredible boom responsibly? Let's shift gears and look at the race for solutions from both inside the companies and on the engineering side.
All right, so from the corporate side, big companies are trying to build a playbook to get ahead of the problems. It's a pretty logical four-step cycle, really. First, you govern, you set the rules and the principles for how you're going to develop this stuff responsibly. Then you map, you figure out what all the risks are. Step 3 is to measure. You test everything rigorously to see how big those risks actually are. And finally, you manage. You put real controls in place to handle them. It's a continuous loop.
Now, on the technical and policy side, engineers and regulators are also scrambling for solutions. For example, they're looking at things like fault ride-through requirements. That's basically a rule that would force data centers to stay connected during those small grid hiccups so they don't cause blackouts. But maybe the biggest idea is about the AI models themselves. Instead of building these gigantic do-everything models that use insane amounts of power, maybe we should focus on smaller, more efficient AIs that are built for one specific task. That could be a huge game changer for cutting down that energy bill. So this brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. This entire AI boom is being built on two things: immense amounts of power and immense amounts of money. And it forces us to ask a really tough question, weighing the incredible promise of this technology against the very real risks to our power grids and our financial stability. Are we building a true sustainable revolution here, or are we just building a beautiful, shimmering bubble on top of a very unstable foundation?